Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be going over my Destiny 2 Titan Solar 3.0 build. Going to be a lot of hammers to throw. Stick around. I think you're going to like this one. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and go over the build. The number one thing about this build is you want to have the throwing hammer equipped. This is what's going to be our entire build. This is all we are doing, and trust me when I say it works surprisingly well. Your super's not going to matter so much. Run whatever barricade, jump, and grenade that you want. Only thing that matters here is the throwing hammer. The first aspect is going to be Roaring Flames. Final blows with solar abilities or ignitions increase the damage of your solar abilities, and this stacks up to 3 times. Every time you get a kill with your hammer, you're going to get another stack of Roaring Flames, tallying up to 3, and then you'll be doing extra damage. The next aspect we'll have equipped is Soul Invictus. Solar ability Final Blows, Hammer of Soul impacts, and defeating scorched targets creates sunspots. Your abilities regenerate faster and your super drains more slowly while standing in these sunspots. Sunspots also apply Scorch and deal damage to targets that stand inside of them. Entering a sunspot will also apply Restoration, another key part of the build. Restoration says that you regenerate health and shield over time, and it cannot be interrupted by taking damage. This is the thing that is going to be keeping you alive on your hammer throwing sprees. Now let's move right into the fragments. First fragment for us is going to be Ember of Ashes. You apply more Scorch stacks to targets. This is basically going to do extra Scorch damage because Roaring Flames, first off. Getting a kill with one of those Scorch stacks will help build Roaring Flames up. The second reason it's important is Soul Invictus. The sunspots that you create apply Scorch and deal damage to targets that stand inside them. This will deal additional Scorch damage. Our second fragment here is going to be Ember of Solace. Radiant and Restoration effects applied to you have increased duration. This is going to help keep you alive longer when you're in the middle of fights. Our third fragment is going to be Ember of Benevolence. Applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration for a short time. That class ability regeneration will play into fact with our barricades. It's also going to help if you're running Lorelei, which we'll get into a little bit later. And last but not least, Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. Radiant is that 10% damage buff that we're going to get. It's going to help you kind of feed. You're going to go through many different enemies, and it's just another damage buff we're going to be stacking on this build. Because believe me when I say you can output some serious damage. Alright, now we're going to go over our exotics. I, for my build, run Worm God Caress, and the reason I do is strictly because of Burning Fist. Melee kills increase melee damage. Now what that says is every kill you get with your throwing hammer, you are going to do additional damage every single time. Burning Fist lasts for 5 seconds and grants bonus melee damage. That bonus melee damage starts at an additional 80% damage. It then stacks to 170%, 390%, 520, and then at its absolute highest damage output, 650% damage. Now another exotic you can see me use here is going to be Synthoceps. Synthoceps is another very popular choice for this build. While surrounded by 3 or more enemies, you activate Biotic Enhancements. Biotic Enhancements says that it increases melee and super damage for up to 8 seconds. 50% super damage increase. In PvE, you get a 200% increase to melee damage, and in PvP, 100% increase to melee damage. The next exotic we'll be taking a look at is Severance Enclosure, the exotic chess piece. Powered melee and finisher kills unleash explosions centered on an enemy. Explosion damage and radius depends on the enemy rank. The explosion damage is as follows: 100% for powered melee kills on miners, 144% for finishers on miners, 197% power on melee mini-boss kills, and 268 for finisher mini-boss kills. We're not really going to be going too much into the finishers, but it is a very nice add clear option, as you can see here by this video. By far, one of our most popular choices for this build are going to be Lorelei Splendor. Lorelei Splendor says that sunspots grant restoration ×2. For Lorelei Splendor Helm, sunspots are going to grant 2 times restoration stack. Upon reaching critical health, if you have a class ability charge, it will take that charge and spawn a sunspot underneath of you. This helps keep you alive. It's also going to increase your damage output. If you're running higher level content and you really want to make sure that you're not dying and causing negative impact to your team, Lorelei is going to be a perfect choice here. Now for these mods, you are going to need at least 3 solar affinity armors and 1 void. Let me show you why. Alright, and now let's take a dive into our mods. These are going to be the things that run our build and give us that extra little boost of damage that we're looking for. First off, Melee Wellmaker. Powered melee combatant final blows spawn elemental wells that match your subclass energy type. So basically what that means is anytime you get a hammer kill, you are creating elemental wells. I'll have a clip here of what those elemental wells look like for you. Awesome. Moving on to our next elemental well mod, we are going to be looking at Explosive Wellmaker. Rapidly defeating combatants with explosive damage will spawn solar elemental wells. This is just another generation technique to make sure that we are constantly creating wells as often as we can. Now, if you're wondering what those wells are used for, we're going to be using the solar elemental mod, Well of Life. Picking up a solar elemental well grants increased regeneration for a short period of time. This regeneration is going to keep you alive, especially if you're not running Lorelei, for example, but it is absolutely necessary if you want to be in the fray, throwing those hammers right in people's face and just obliterating your enemies. The next mod I have for you is Wrath of Rasputin. Solar splash damage final blows have a chance to create Warmind cells. Now, of course, we can use these for additional damage and add clear, but the real reason we are running the Wrath of Rasputin mod is because Warmind's Protection. Warmind's Protection is a void mod that says you take reduced damage from enemies that are near your Warmind cells. Just another thing adding to your absolute tankiness. It's really nice having that extra boost of resistance when you're in the middle of all the enemies. People are going to be shooting at you and you're just not going to care. It's going to tickle. It will do nothing to you as long as you have all of these mods on alongside a Warmind cell. And that's going to just about wrap up our Titan Solar 3.0 build. If you have any questions or if there's anything you would change, let me know down in the comments below.